Most doctors never tell you this. By the time someone receives a type 2 diabetes diagnosis, they've already lost up to half of their insulin-producing beta cells, not declining, gone. And here's what makes that even more alarming. Conventional medicine almost never addresses that loss. It manages the symptoms downstream while the root cause continues unchecked. But research from peer-reviewed institutions tells a different story, one that most patients never hear. Certain seeds, available at any grocery store for under $5, have been shown in clinical trials to directly stimulate the regeneration of those tissues. Beta cells reduce fasting blood glucose and improve how your body responds to insulin at the cellular level, not mask the problem, address the mechanism driving it. Hi, I'm Dr. Camila Torres, and welcome to Senior Decode, the channel dedicated to translating the latest metabolic science into real, actionable steps for adults who want to take back control of their health. I spent nearly 3 decades in clinical medicine and endocrinology research, and if there's one thing those years taught me, it's this. The patients who thrive are not the ones who simply manage their diagnosis. They're the ones who understand what's driving it. That's exactly what we do here at Senior Decode. We decode the science and we hand it directly to you. Today, we are going deep on pancreatic regeneration, beta cell biology, and a specific morning seed protocol backed by clinical research from institutions including the NIH, Penn State, and the University of Oslo. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do that now. It's free, it takes 2 seconds, and it ensures this kind of research-backed information keeps reaching the people who need it most. Let's get into it. To understand why this protocol works, you first need to rethink what's actually happening inside the diabetic pancreas. Most people picture the pancreas as a simple glucose sensor. It reads blood sugar, releases insulin, and repeats. But that oversimplifies a profoundly complex organ. Here's a better way to think about it. Imagine a manufacturing facility with 1,000 workers. Their only job is to produce insulin. When the factory runs well, output meets demand without strain. Now imagine that over years, slowly, quietly, small fires keep breaking out across the floor. No explosion, just persistent, low-grade heat, chronic inflammation, oxidative stress, metabolic overload. A few workers burn out each month and don't come back. After a decade of that, you don't have 1,000 workers, you have 500, and the ones still standing are exhausted, compensating for the ones who are gone. That is the dual mechanism of type 2 diabetes, beta cell loss paired with insulin resistance. 2 problems, 1 outcome, blood sugar that your body can no longer regulate. And here is the piece of information that changes everything. Those empty workstations are not necessarily permanent. The pancreas contains progenitor cells, reserve cells waiting in the background, that under the right biological conditions can be activated, differentiated, and converted into new, functional, insulin-producing beta cells. This process is called beta cell neogenesis. It is documented in peer-reviewed literature, and it can be stimulated through specific compounds found in food. The question is, what flips that switch? The leading answer, based on current research, is a naturally occurring alkaloid called trigonelline. The leading answer, based on current research, is a naturally occurring alkaloid called trigonelline. Trigonelline is found in exceptionally high concentrations in fenugreek seeds, and its mechanism is more targeted than most people realize. Trigonelline has been shown to directly influence the expression of a transcription factor called PDX1, the pancreatic and duodenal homeobox protein. PDX1 functions as the master genetic switch for beta cell formation. When it is activated, the pancreas receives a signal to begin producing new beta cells. Think of PDX1 as the main breaker in your factory's control room. For years, under the weight of inflammation and metabolic stress, it has been switched off. Trigonelin is the compound that reaches in and turns it back on, but fenugreek doesn't stop there. It also contains a rare soluble fiber called galactomannan, which forms a viscous gel in the digestive tract that physically slows the absorption of glucose after meals. Not blocks it, slows it. That distinction matters enormously. A slower glucose rise means a gentler insulin demand, less strain on whatever beta cell population you still have working. You are not just stimulating new cell growth, you are simultaneously reducing the burden on the cells already doing the work. Now let's walk through the 4 specific pathways through which this morning seed protocol improves blood sugar biology. Pathway 1. Beta cell regeneration through PDX1 activation. Trigonelin from fenugreek upregulates PDX1 expression, promoting the conversion of pancreatic progenitor cells into mature, insulin-secreting beta cells. This is not about forcing exhausted cells to produce more. This is about generating new ones. Pathway 2. Viscous fiber glucose buffering. Galactomannan dissolves in the small intestine to form a thick gel matrix that surrounds glucose molecules from digested carbohydrates and slows their passage into the bloodstream. Clinical studies show this mechanism can reduce post-meal blood sugar spikes by 20 to 25%, which means less insulin demand and less long-term beta cell fatigue. Pathway 3. AMPK activation and improved insulin sensitivity. This is where black seed, Nigella sativa, enters the picture. Its active compound, thymoquinone, is one of the most studied natural activators of an enzyme called AMP-activated protein kinase, or AMPK. AMPK is essentially the body's master metabolic switch. When AMPK is activated, muscle cells open their glucose channels without requiring insulin to unlock them first. Imagine your cells normally needing a key, insulin, to let glucose inside. AMP activation creates an alternate entry point that glucose can use directly. That is improved insulin sensitivity at the biochemical level. And in people with type 2 diabetes, it dramatically reduces total insulin demand on an already taxed pancreas. Pathway 4. Oxidative stress reduction and beta cell protection. Beta cells are uniquely vulnerable to oxidative damage because they produce very low levels of their own antioxidant enzymes. Chronic oxidative stress doesn't just impair their function, it triggers beta cell apoptosis, meaning programmed cell death. This is where flaxseed becomes critical. Flax seeds are among the richest plant sources of lignans and alpha-linolenic acid, both of which have been shown to suppress the specific oxidative pathway, NF-kappa B inflammatory signaling, that accelerates beta cell destruction. You are not just rebuilding, you are reinforcing the structure against ongoing damage at the same time. This is not theoretical. Let's look at what the research actually shows. At the University of Oslo, 69 adults with newly diagnosed type 2 diabetes were supplemented with 10 grams of fenugreek seed powder daily for 12 weeks. The fenugreek group showed a 28% reduction in fasting blood glucose and a 13.4% drop in hemoglobin A1C. Beta cell function markers showed statistically significant improvement in the intervention group only. At Penn State's Department of Nutritional Sciences, 51 participants with prediabetes or early type 2 diabetes consumed 25 grams of ground flaxseed daily for 10 weeks. Fasting insulin levels dropped by nearly 20%, and markers of systemic inflammation, including C-reactive protein and interleukin-6, both directly tied to beta cell damage, fell measurably. Participants with the highest baseline oxidative stress saw the greatest benefit, suggesting that flaxseed's antioxidant effect is most powerful in precisely the people who need it most. A meta-analysis from the National Institutes of Health reviewed 23 randomized controlled trials involving over 1,600 participants with type 2 diabetes, examining standardized Nigella sativa supplementation. Across the pooled data, fasting blood glucose dropped by a mean of 18.9 milligrams per deciliter. Insulin sensitivity improved by 16.3% using HOMA-IR scoring, and HbA1c fell by 0.6%, a figure comparable to the effect of some first-line pharmaceutical interventions at a fraction of the cost and without documented side effects. And a 16-week study from the Karolinska Institute in Sweden found that 44 metabolic syndrome patients consuming 35 grams of chia seeds daily experienced a 21% reduction in post-meal blood glucose, an 18% drop in LDL oxidation markers, and an average reduction of 400 daily calories consumed without any dietary instruction, driven entirely by improved satiety. That appetite-regulating effect has direct implications for diabetes management, since excess caloric intake and visceral fat accumulation are primary amplifiers of insulin resistance. Here is the exact protocol, based directly on the clinical evidence. 1. Fenugreek seeds, 10 grams, approximately 1 heaping teaspoon. Soak whole seeds overnight in room temperature water for at least 8 hours. In the morning, drain and eat the soaked seeds directly or blend them into a smoothie. Soaking breaks down the outer coat and dramatically improves bioavailability of both trigonelin and galactomannan. Do not dry roast them. Heat degrades trigonelin content by up to 40%. The bitter taste is normal. It signals potency. 2. Ground flaxseed, 25 grams, approximately 2.5 tablespoons. Always use ground flaxseed, not whole. Whole flax seeds pass through the digestive system largely intact. Research confirms that roughly 85% of the active compounds go unabsorbed. Grind fresh each day or store pre-ground in the refrigerator in an airtight container. Add to oatmeal, smoothies, or yogurt. If it smells like old paint, it have oxidized, discard it immediately. 3. Black seed Nigella sativa, 2 to 3 grams, approximately half a teaspoon. The most bioavailable form is cold-pressed black seed oil, half a teaspoon, taken directly or stirred into warm water. If using whole seeds, lightly toast them for 60 seconds in a dry pan to improve digestibility, then crush before eating. Do not heat above 180 degrees Fahrenheit. Thymolconone begins to degrade at that temperature. Consistent daily use matters more than dose size. 4. Chia seeds, 15 grams, approximately 1 tablespoon. Soak in 3 to 4 tablespoons of water for at least 15 minutes before eating to form the gel matrix that slows glucose absorption. Eating chia dry significantly reduces the fiber benefit. You can prepare a larger batch the night before. Adding lemon juice to the soak water improves ALA absorption through synergistic vitamin C activity. 5. Ceylon cinnamon, half a teaspoon daily. Optional, but evidence-backed. Ceylon only, not cassia. Cassia contains high levels of coumarin, which at daily doses can stress the liver. Ceylon contains negligible coumarin and meaningful amounts of cinnamaldehyde, which has been shown in multiple trials to improve insulin receptor sensitivity. A 2019 meta-analysis in diabetes care showed a 0.27% reduction in HbA1c across supplemented subjects. Stir into coffee, oatmeal, or a smoothie. 6. Green tea, 1 to 2 cups, brewed at 175 degrees Fahrenheit. Consumed within 30 minutes of your seed protocol. The EGCG in green tea has its own documented effect on glucose metabolism and AMPK activation, complementing the thymokinin from black seed through overlapping but distinct pathways. Do not add dairy milk. Milk proteins bind catechins and dramatically reduce absorption. Plant-based milks do not carry this problem. A squeeze of lemon is fine and actually increases catechin bioavailability. 6 clinical nuances that determine whether you see partial results or genuine transformation. First, sequence matters. Consume your soaked fenugreek and chia gel before or at the start of your largest carbohydrate meal. The glucose buffering effect of galactomannan and chia fiber is most powerful when it's already present in the gut when glucose arrives, not after. Second, measure fasting glucose at the same time every morning, before coffee and before movement. This gives you a clean, consistent baseline to track protocol effectiveness over weeks. Most people following this protocol for 8 to 12 weeks begin seeing meaningful changes around weeks 4 to 6. Do not evaluate at week 2. Third, pair your ground flaxseed with turmeric. Curcumin and the lignans in flaxseed have complementary anti-inflammatory action on the nitrogen monofluoride kappa B pathway specifically implicated in beta cell destruction. Add a pinch of black pepper alongside both. It increases curcumin bioavailability by approximately 2,000%. This is one of the most well-documented food synergies in nutritional biochemistry. Fourth, visceral fat is the hidden saboteur of this protocol. Even a 5 to 7% reduction in visceral fat, not total body weight, visceral fat specifically, produces measurable improvements in insulin sensitivity independent of everything else. Waist circumference is a better proxy for visceral fat than the scale. Fifth, consistency over intensity. The research I cited used consistent, moderate daily doses, not megadoses. Doubling fenugreek to 20 grams does not double the benefit. In many individuals, it causes digestive discomfort significant enough to abandon the protocol entirely. 10 grams every single morning for 12 consecutive weeks is the evidence-based target. Sixth, whole seeds outperform supplements in this context. Fenugreek capsules, black seed soft gels, and flax supplements all involve processing steps that reduce the synergistic activity of the full fiber compound matrix present in whole seeds. The fiber and the bioactive compounds work together. Separating them into an extract loses part of the mechanism. Whole and ground seeds first, supplements as a convenience backup, not a primary strategy. Let's address the mistakes that prevent results. Mistake 1. Using whole flax seeds instead of ground. Whole flax seeds have a hard outer shell that human digestive enzymes cannot penetrate. Research confirms roughly 85% of the active compounds pass through unabsorbed. If you've been eating whole flax seeds and wondering why nothing is changing, this is almost certainly why. A basic coffee grinder solves the problem entirely. Mistake 2. Expecting change in the first 2 weeks. Beta cell neogenesis is a biological process that unfolds across months. The studies showing the most dramatic results ran for 10 to 16 weeks. Give this protocol 90 days before you evaluate. Quitting at week 3 because you don't feel different yet is the single most common reason people miss a genuine physiological shift. Mistake 3. Substituting supplements and assuming equivalence. A trigonelline capsule is not the same as soaked fenugreek seeds. A thymoquinone extract is not the same as whole black seed. The full matrix of fiber, polyphenols, alkaloids, and fatty acids in a whole food works synergistically in ways that isolated extracts do not replicate. Mistake 4. Using this protocol to compensate for an unchanged diet. These seeds are powerful biological tools, but if you consume them every morning and then spend the rest of the day eating ultra-processed carbohydrates, refined sugars, and inflammatory seed oils, you are working against yourself at a scale this protocol cannot overcome. This is an accelerant for a broader dietary shift, not a workaround for one that hasn't happened yet. Type 2 diabetes is not a sentence. The people who genuinely reverse this condition, and the research confirms that reversal is possible, are not exceptional people with unusual genetics or unlimited resources. They are people who make small, consistent, biologically intelligent choices every single day. They soak their fenugreek the night before. They grind their flax fresh. They don't skip the black seed. And then they do it again tomorrow. Your pancreas is not done. The progenitor cells are there. The regeneration pathways are there. The galactomannan is sitting in a $5 bag at the grocery store down the street. These systems exist inside you right now. You do not need to wait for a new drug or accept progressive decline as your only option. You can begin supporting your own metabolic recovery today, not with heroic effort, but with consistent, informed, daily action. Let's recap everything we covered. The real problem in type 2 diabetes is beta cell mass loss, not just elevated blood sugar. And the pancreas has a documented capacity for regeneration that conventional treatment almost never addresses. Fenugreek seeds at 10 grams daily, soaked overnight, deliver trigonelline to activate PDX1, the genetic switch for beta cell formation, alongside galactomannan fiber that flattens post-meal glucose spikes by up to 25%. Ground flaxseed at 25 grams daily provides lignans and ALA that suppress the oxidative pathway responsible for beta cell destruction, protecting the population you're working to rebuild. Black seed at 2 to 3 grams daily activates AMPK, the master metabolic switch, improving insulin sensitivity by creating alternative glucose uptake pathways in muscle cells and reducing total insulin demand on the pancreas. Chia seeds at 15 grams daily, soaked, flatten post-meal glucose curves by 21%, reduce LDL oxidation, and regulate appetite in a way that naturally reduces caloric intake and visceral fat over time. Green tea at 2 cups, brewed at 175 degrees without dairy, amplifies the entire protocol through EGCG-mediated AMPK coactivation. Consistency over 10 to 12 weeks is the evidence-based timeline. Track fasting glucose and waist circumference monthly, not daily. And whole ground seeds outperform supplements because the fiber compound matrix is mechanistically essential, not incidental. Your metabolic trajectory is not fixed. The research proves it, and the tools to change it are already within reach. If this video gave you something useful, share it with someone managing type 2 diabetes or prediabetes. There are over 400 million people living with this condition worldwide, and the vast majority have never been told that what they eat can directly support pancreatic regeneration. That information deserves to reach them. And if you haven't yet seen my previous video on the 5 foods that activate AMPK most powerfully and how to combine them with a time-restricted eating window for maximum metabolic impact, that one pairs directly with everything we covered today. The link is waiting for you. I'm Dr. Camila Torres, this is Senior Decode, and I'll see you in the next one.